as I was saying before I was interrupted by a cutscene, I think the camera she's about to pick up is the same camera from the second game. On the shelf are a letter and a camera similar to the one I saw in my dream. It looks like the letter is from Kai. Letter from Kai too. Dear you, during my research on the Manor of Sleep urban legend, I finally made it to a certain deserted village, lost even from the map. I found this camera in a huge abandoned house near that village. My niece Miu, when Mayu disappeared, she caused you a lot of trouble, so you probably remember her. They're the protagonist from the second game, saw this camera and she was scared stiff. I wonder if it reminded her of that unspeakable incident. For now I'd like you to take care of the camera. You know about antiquities, so could you look it over for me? I don't think you'll be able to reach me for a bit, but I'll contact you, so let me know what you find then. Regards, Kai Amakura. So, yeah, camera's from the second one. Could this be the same as the Camera Obscura I saw in my dream? This is older than the one in the dream, and the inscription on the back is illegible. Even so, it does look very similar to the Camera Obscura. I tried pushing the shutter button, but there was no response. It looks like it's broken. There's still an old film inside the Camera Obscura. Musty film. The film looks pretty old, but it doesn't seem to have been spoiled by being exposed at all. What could be on it? I wonder if I could develop it in the darkroom. Maybe. I wonder where I'm supposed to go next. On this old shelf are the old bits of machinery you used to collect. They're not quite impressive enough to be called antiques. They just look like old machines. I still have no idea what made him want to collect them. I seem to remember him telling me about it once or twice, but maybe I wasn't really listening. You. They lived in the same house. They were engaged, but they lived in separate rooms with separate beds. Wow. Old-fashioned. Alright. I guess there's nothing wrong with that, just odd. There are typed and handwritten letters on the desk, along with several books. I've hardly touched anything here since that day. I just can't bring myself to tidy everything away. There's a notebook left out on top of the desk. Perhaps somebody was in the middle of working. Perhaps it was you. This was his room. Oh goodness. Oh, it's long. Alright, here we go. Many of the urban legends classified as Lost Village are modeled on real incidents, such as a village was ruined when one villager massacred the others. Lovely. They are often an amalgamation of well-known actual incidents, legend, and oral tradition. Settings, such as the isolated mountain village or bygone customs, like night trysts or ceremonies, often act to trigger the incidents themselves, and these in turn become the motif for urban legends. The reason for the popularity of urban legends may lie in the notion of the view of the country from the city, or the modern bias towards the ancient. To people in the modern city, the village is the wilderness, and those who live there are different. Perhaps that scorn or fear finds expression in the urban legend. For that reason, the setting of the legend must be the isolated mountain village. Further, bygone customs are attractive elements that end up acting to provoke the incident. As a case in point, there is a story about the area around the Minakami Dam, where Mayu went missing. The Lost Village. In the mountains of the Minakami area, there was once a massacre in the so-called Lost Village. Years ago, on the night of a certain festival, there was a great massacre, and the village disappeared from the map. Only one woman survived. If you walk in the forest where the village once lay, there was a small guardian statue, and if you continue, you'll come to the shrine gate that forms the entrance to the village. If you should pass through the gate, you will never return. And the night of the massacre continues in this village, where day will never again break, and a woman's horrific laugh rings throughout the village. Next, we have the Manor of Bizarre Murders, where the same tragedy recurs. Its scale is smaller, but generally speaking, it resembles the pattern of the village, and it is made up of elements based on true incidents. Below is an example of this. It has to do with Mufuyu's disappearance. The House of Mutilation. Ew. In the mountain area of Himuro, there remains a manor where years ago there was said to be a massacre. There have always been vanishings in the nearby forest, and many of the spirited away are said to end up in the manor. The corpses have been found with both hands, legs, and head severed off. One more example is a seemingly related Manor of Sleep urban legend that I'm researching now. The Manor of Sleep legend was picked up in various magazines in the 1960s, but incidents with very similar characteristics can be found here and there in older media. This newspaper is from early 1900s, wow, 1900s, and is of no relation to when the Manor of Sleep legend was taken up. But in the background of the spirited aways and those people's later conditions, there are many similarities to the Manor of Sleep urban legend. I'm still investigating, but these incidents may trace back to the 19th century, and I have seen legends in several folklore books that may have become the basis for the Manor of Sleep. Oh dear Lord. My mouth is dry. The House of Sleep urban legend. Perhaps this is what Kai was asked to investigate. You add a well-organized notebook on urban legends to your file. An old newspaper is stuck in the notebook, and I have to read more. Whenever we get new information, sometimes we can return to a bookshelf that we've looked at before, and she'll suddenly pick out a new book and be like, oh, that title is similar to something I just read. Okay, here I go again. Series of vanishings across region. According to sources, before dawn yesterday, a mother and daughter who live in Moijin village went missing. If I ever mispronounce something, I'm really sorry. The missing are Maki Kuzuhara and her daughter Kozu. Since last year, the two have been searching for Kuzuhara's missing husband. The two reportedly wandered the mountains nearly every day. The informant says, I hadn't seen them for several days, so I went to visit them. There was no answer, so I went inside, but they were gone. I only saw some black soot-like marks. Similar disappearances are being reported across the area, and some are calling them spirited aways. Good movie. You added the newspaper article, Series of Vanishings Across Region, to your file. Why did I just read that? Yay, more stuff. There are typed and handwritten letters in several books left out on the desk. I'd also like to say welcome back to everybody who skipped all that talking. Okay, the bookshelves are full of volumes of folklore, philosophy, and anthropology. They're all books you used for his work, or ones that were published by his company. Oh, he had a company? There's a time when I used to be interested in them, but it was only a passing phase. In the bookcase is the book Occultism that Amakura wrote about in his letter, and oh my gosh, more writing. The Camera Obscura is a device used to capture the other world, made by occultist Kunihiko Asu from the late 19th to the early 20th century. He tried to communicate with and get proof of this other world. The term occultist refers to people involved in the movement to verify Eastern thought using contemporary Western technology. Kunihiko Asu is a prime example of such an occultist, and that is such a bullcrap definition. That is not what occultist means. Do not make up definitions for words. They have set definitions. I mean, this game takes place in the modern world. If it was a fantasy game, I may accept that, because, you know, they may have terms and things that refer to things. But this isn't. This is the modern world. And occultist means something, and that's not it. Ugh. The Camera Obscura was one of his quintessential experiments. He modified the, at the time still rare, camera by adding a special lens and film, wireless camera in quotation marks. It was supposed to capture unbelievable things, normally invisible to the naked eye, like a so-called different phase interval, and spirits and ghosts. They are very rare nowadays, but apparently these cameras are still traded among curio dealers. Most have been broken, and we have lost a chance to see the other world, as well as Asu's achievements for eternity. Okay. Yeah, got more stuff to read. That's okay. Used clothes are still hanging inside his closet. I decided not to tidy them anyway. Once they were in boxes, I knew they'd never come out again. Well, I guess for real, welcome back to people that skipped on me reading all that stuff. I'd said it earlier, and then I found more stuff to read. So, Yeah, fun times. Had bile up my throat. Which you can heal going now. I actually already had a sore throat. Now it's sore. Let's go develop that film. Oh, Miku. Kind of creeping me out there. Oh!
Ray, you've been working too hard. You should get some rest.
I'm just gonna walk away. Oh, we can explore the house a little. One little catfish. In the corner is an ornamental potted plant. Looking after it is Miku's job. Come to think of it, Miku looks after just about everything in the house these days. Wow, you lazy way. Little food dish. There's a TV I'm not even gonna glance at. Kitchen. Let's look over here.